Um, I wanted to switch gears a little bit, Monil. A question for you is on the recent sort of change we've all seen in work from home. I mean, you have an organization with tens of thousands of people as well. What unique challenges did this sort of necessitation of being away and being remote, being working from home, throw at you guys? And really, how did you think through it? And what technology did you end up employing? Anything new that you've deployed for meeting these use cases?
Yeah, I think COVID, you're talking about COVID. COVID-19 was probably one of the tragic, is a pandemic that's going on, tragic to people's
Sure.
families, members emotionally, physically, a drain that, has taken the toll on the employee base. Everybody, kids even, right, and what they want to do. And the first thing we had to realize, as a company, we had to realize first, people first, right? The emotional train. So we wanted to make, if you're talking about policies and process, people first.
Sure.
And I think the first thing you have to understand, we're saying, let's make it easier for them to work from home. Let's see what they need to do to work from home. A lot of the things we moved to the cloud. For example, let's say a secure web gateway, right? Instead of having it on premise, put it on the cloud. So when they work from home, it's faster. The performance meets their requirements, right? There's a lot of changes. Actually, COVID-19, I believe, changed the ecosystem of IT. People working from home, collaboration, online collaboration, Zoom meetings, right?
Sure.
How efficient we've become, and how also, emotionally and physically strained by working all the time has also become, right? Yeah. There's a lot of caveats to it. We made a lot of changes. And then you take a look at it from the other spectrum. Security itself has been going, cybersecurity and issues with that has been going drastically up. They've been exploiting people working from home. So if you take a look at it from a security standpoint, we had to make the countermeasures from people working from home. Our practices had to change, saying, hey, working from home, how does it benefit the people? And how can we protect it against these threats that are there in the environment and ecosystem, which is growing because people are working from home. Of course, if you're talking about other things, monitoring, we had a team just to monitor, people working from home, making sure people are efficient working from home.
Sure.
That not looking at the caveat, the other side. How can we make it easier or more efficient for them working from home?
Right.
So we increased the monitoring and making sure in both cases are there, and making sure people have the ability to work from home. Being flexible also is a key aspect, because now they're teachers, they're workers, they're parents, they're doing all the things that they need to do, and flexibility and all those items. And monitoring became a requirement that we had, advanced monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say what solutions we put into place, but we put a couple of solutions in place to make sure we can do that.
Great.
And if you take a look at it, ensure that we don't have any loopholes or we don't have any threats that are coming in that we didn't accommodate for, because you still have to be vigilant. You still have to be ready, because those are increasing. The number of items and threats and agents that exist have just increased exponentially during this time. So the monitoring, the capability, the automation, all had to increase based on where COVID brought us to.
Right. Understood. I think, Evgeny, for you, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No. So I was just saying, it's just interesting from that. I also build out a lot of the tools and capabilities for insider threat, and my team does the initial analysis for ethics, CI, across the board. We have a really good partnership with that. Again, because prioritization of data and then who's using that data, right? They go hand in hand a lot of times. And it's just been really interesting in our own experience especially for organizations that have been much more perimeter focused or perimeter first,
right,
with their security, and that we had to change and pivot very quickly. Just the behaviors of what's abnormal and not abnormal, because that's another thing of how we protect our data is,
mm-hmm.
looking for trends and patterns. And, printing from home being something that used to be a big red flag. Now it becomes normal because, a significant portion of our population is from home, and that's how they do their work. There was a case that I was familiar with where this was before COVID, someone had downloaded onto a local network sensitive intellectual property and some, a customer's data to work from home, and their network was compromised. And then the person who had compromised their home network had that data and was reaching out to the company to say, hey, we have your data and we're going to release it unless you give us money. And they didn't hack the company, they hacked the local network that a person just downloaded to their Synology or whatever they had, because it didn't have the same billions of dollars of security stacks that we as an organization. So it's definitely a softer target, and the data is definitely much more exposed. But as you mentioned, we gotta be supportive of allowing people to do the jobs they need to do, and really pivot in ways that, for those of us more legacy mindsets, have had to struggle. And not only have we had to go and say, look, there's more threats, as you mentioned, speak that up, but also really put some tools, techniques, and processes in place to accommodate not only the growing threat, but also our customer base. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic point, and it's been a pain that we've lived over these last 18, 19 months.
I want to add something.
No, go ahead.
From my perspective, like, we see a lot of our customers struggling with the flow of data. As you mentioned, if we work from home, both you or Manil, where do I go with my data? Is it go to a cloud? Do I browsing the website? Do I need to connect back with remote access to my environment? Do I tunnel my traffic, or do I use web gateway in the cloud? There's many companies that solve this problem right now. From a managed service perspective, in the Hergery group, as Rob, as you mentioned, I used to see several IPs. Now I see a variety of IPs coming to me. So are you a bad guy that trying to download my information, or you just a guy that trying to do your job, or you need these files for you? And there's a very interesting point that we start discussing in the beginning of this year, and because not everybody is still working back in the offices, we still don't know. How do we safely bring employees back to the office? Do we scan the laptops before they connect to the office? What exactly we need to do? There's a lot of ideas and problems and variety of solutions here.